Hello, everyone. My name is Leo Tucker. I'm the CEO of KMS Technology. Today, I'm thrilled to have with me Brad Weeks from Software Equity Group. Today, Brad and I are going to have what should be a very interesting discussion for those of you looking to exit or looking for an investment. Specifically, we're going to talk about how focusing on the product itself, the engineering team, and development processes may lead to a higher exit value. Brad, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Leo. Appreciate it. It's good to be here, and I've enjoyed our relationship for some time. So it's great to spend a few minutes here talking about what's really important, and I think it's just something that doesn't get as much attention as it should. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. We're thrilled to have you. So why don't we start, Brad, just with a quick overview of SEG and the type of work that you do.
Sure, Leo. SEG is an M&A advisor to emerging and established software companies. What that means is we help founders, executives, and investors really maximize value and minimize risk by leading them through what can be very complex and high-stakes world of mergers and acquisitions.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Great overview of SEG. So let's start with business goals, Brad. How have you seen business goals evolve for software companies over the last couple of years?
Yeah, certainly. So from a value perspective, it's really changed dramatically over the last several years. Several years ago, it was revenue growth, a clear number one driver of value. And then you started to see companies just driving revenue growth at all costs, lots of burn and lots of inefficiencies. And so efficient revenue growth became very important. Rule of 40, SaaS unit economics became metrics buyers and investors started to evaluate very closely. Retention has always been very important, but in 2022, with this uncertain macro environment we have, its importance jumped dramatically. In fact, it's on par with revenue growth in terms of priorities amongst buyers and investors. And so we did a survey recently that you can download from our website, but of the top private equity investors in the software space. And in fact, they ranked gross retention as the number one priority, and it increased 3 times over last year in terms of level of importance. And then interestingly, they also highlighted the importance of taking that strong gross retention and pairing that with strong gross margins. And that's very unique and in high demand. So if you bring this back to product, a strong product is instrumental to drive solid metrics across revenue growth, gross margin, and retention. And to drive revenue growth, buyers and investors are looking for modern, differentiated products with a strong architecture that they can scale. We hear it all the time. So for buyers and investors, it's like, hey, we can build a sales and marketing team, but we can't do that with product, right? We need that product. We need to know that product can win. How you win, how you're differentiated in the market, in competitive deals, and to drive strong retention, products that are mission critical, strong value propositions, easy to use, ideally leveraged by a large variety of constituents across an organization. And in my point on gross margin, if you're able to do this with a product that can get to rapid time to value, onboarding new clients quickly and efficiently, support is relatively light, has proven to be very valuable too. And even in today's market, these companies are achieving very strong multiples. From an operational perspective, other goals impacting is work from home, putting a lot of pressure on internal collaboration, processes across the organization, especially R&D teams who are often distributed across the world. Increased investment and competition across the software landscape, driving the need to get to market more quickly. Innovation and digital transformation, pushing the need for adaptability, rapid release cycles. And then more recently this year, given the macroeconomic climate and valuations being down for really high growth, high burn companies, is a strong focus on strengthening the bottom line and driving through operational efficiencies.
Great. So you covered a lot of great things about the product right there, which is exactly kind of the purpose of today's discussion, right, is to discuss the importance of the product itself, whether it's architecture, functionality, and so forth. So is there anything you'd like to add with respect to the importance of the product itself? beyond what you just went through?
Well, I mean, IP is just overall critical to an exit. Typically, these strategic buyers are looking to accelerate growth, and that strong product and scalable architecture is a key element to the strategy. If we're working with a client who's got a strong product, it's definitely something that, we're going to look to highlight in any way we can, at all facets of the process. And in fact, when we're evaluating prospects to work with, we're going to look at product itself, right? And kind of understand and maybe evaluate the team. And then generally speaking, we have better success with those companies who on a relative basis may overinvest in product relative to sales and marketing versus instead of vice versa. Again, to my point, investors are looking for that product. They have the sales, hopefully, the sales capabilities, right? Or they can build that strong sales and marketing team, but they can't do it in a product. And where we run into problems sometimes we can work through it, but is when a company has built on a legacy stack, doesn't scale very well, has a clunky UI, maybe the code is super hard to maintain and prevents them from innovating at the pace that they need to. Basically what investors and buyers refer to as technical debt. And how do buyers, one thing for us is like, how do buyers evaluate, the strength of the product in a process? And, they look at things both indirectly and directly. So indirectly, they're going to look at win rates. How well you get in a product demo situation with whatever the competitors you have in the marketplace, how often you win in that situation, right? Can they scale that? If the win rates are high, that gives them a high degree of confidence they can scale this business. What about retention? How sticky is the product actually? Gross margin, how scalable is it? Team and process is something they'll evaluate indirectly. And then directly, they'll leverage, strategics may leverage in-house technical teams to go into depth on the product, code. Investors tend to use, technical outsourced team specialized and focused on evaluating these targets and finding things, frankly, and other third-party tests, security tests, penetration tests, things of that nature.
Oh, that's helpful, Brad. Let me follow up on just a couple of the things that you mentioned. One is technical debt, right? We hear a ton about technical debt as well. So how have you seen companies try to address technical debt actually prior to the sale process itself?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, a lot of times, technical debt is created by those that maybe are inside the company, right? So, it's a good idea that those that recognize that, maybe bringing in, an outsourcing company that already has mature, proven processes in every step. People think of outsourcing companies as, good sources of talent, which is true. But they also bring best practices that can help address and minimize technical debt. And, a technical consultant could come in, identify those issues and the contributors to the technical debt, and most importantly, create a plan to address it systematically over time. That's where we see people kind of help, and that helps, a great deal and for us. And so something that we benefit from tremendously.
Yeah, great. The other thing, Brad, that I want to come back to, we've talked about product. We haven't spent much time yet on team or process. So let's come back to that for a minute. When you're looking at a company's technical leadership, their engineering team, their development processes, how does all that factor into a buyer's investment decision?
Yeah, so I mean, team and process is one of those things that we've recognized the increased importance of that, over time. It's easy to see, like, first and foremost, the product, and you can evaluate win rates and other things of this nature, but a team may take a little bit more time, right? And often the way M&A processes are constructed, you may not get to the team until later in a process. And you think about, so they use it as, once they get there, as kind of an indirect proxy, as I mentioned, to evaluate, not only product, but perhaps, design decisions that have occurred that they may not be able to evaluate. Remember, the M&A process, a buyer only has so much time to due diligence. They can only go so deep. They have a limited history with the company. So they're really going to look to this team as like another sanity check. Like, is this the team and, indirectly the product and the quality that we want to get behind? So, when we have those teams, it's just very valuable for them to get in front of an investor, get in front of a buyer, and be able to clearly articulate, strong product and technical roadmaps, design and engineering decisions that they've made, and various trade-offs related to that. Processes they use, from roadmap design to CI/CD to Q&A. Rationale behind usage of various tools they leverage, why they use those versus alternatives. And the thing is that those teams that can do that with, really high quality documentation, even that shows that kind of they have their stuff together, it just adds even that much more value. So in the cases we don't have that, and we've seen it significantly increases the risk of the deal. And for us, for investors and buyers, they may just pause, right? They could just pause their work altogether. If they continue to move forward, well, they're going to dig deeper and deeper and ask more questions. The risk profile's up, because they don't know what they don't know at this point, right? And now they're concerned, and it leads to potential lost momentum in a deal, maybe lower valuations. And so it's very important. The team is crucial to the overall process.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. That's very insightful. So I'm going to switch gears here now. We've gotten through a lot of the meat of the discussion. KMS and SEG have been partners for quite some time. It's been wonderful for us. So thank you again for that partnership. Let me ask you though, what value is it that KMS brings to SEG? Why do you engage with us?
Yeah, well, first, I guess I'll say thank you to you. Simply put, you guys help increase the value of our client software business in a process. At the end of the day, you guys do this. You have tremendous experience. Just your depth of knowledge comes clear. And I think I know our clients see that, appreciate it, and recognize it. I think through your ability to just quickly and efficiently distill client strengths, and then more importantly, probably to identify and address their weaknesses proactively, identify creative solutions perhaps to those weaknesses, positioning to those weaknesses, and then with all of that, packaging it together and being able to articulate that in a very clear manner. And sometimes you do it directly on behalf of clients. Other times it's coaching up those clients, right? We talked about team. Maybe they can't efficiently communicate, right? And you're helping them, put that story together across a lot of stakeholders too, right? From guys like us, the bankers, to, other engineers, to executives that may be involved in the process. So you come across as very objective, very straight shooters. And, at the end of the day, it helps establish trust and credibility with buyers and investors, which is probably the most important point. The thing with us is we are able to leverage you once we're hired. It's the last mile of kind of a company life cycle. So at that point, you're able to position and help, refine things, but to enhance their value. But certainly sometimes you could perhaps do more if you were involved a little earlier.
Yeah, and clearly that's part of why we're having this discussion today. A lot of our core business is not around the sale process itself, but it's around building strong technology teams, technology processes, technology leadership that can help a company before they're ready to sell. So that's great, Brad. Thank you. Are there any examples? Now, you may have some confidentiality about issues with respect to sharing specifics, but is there anything you can broadly say about the impact KMS has helped to drive in the sales process?
Right. So as you mentioned, due to confidentiality, can't get into specific cases, but KMS has helped provide a lot of value to SEG and our clients numerous times. And I think the most important point for for us that we appreciate and for others to recognize is, there's the obvious, right? Which is, we'll have a client that, they need a lot of help they're lacking a cohesive technology story, no supporting documentation to communicate, technical debt, whatever it is, all the things we've talked about, roadmap and this, that, and the other thing. There are issues clearly. For that, we know you guys can provide tremendous value to them and to us in the process. But beyond that is even those clients that have, their act together, right? They've got a lot of the stuff covered. They've got a strong team. They've got a great product. Their win rates are good and everything looks good. You're still able to provide value, and we've seen it and experienced it. And maybe you're taking these people from a B+, A- to an A+, helping to refine the story, right? Help to plug any holes or blind spots that may exist. And remember, for us, it's like every little detail matters, and any even seemingly small incremental improvement can have a dramatic increase in value in M&A. So for that, it's just across the spectrum where we look to KMS to help and assist our clients, and we've appreciated it and seen it countless times. So that's why I say thank you to you guys for all the help you've provided.
Well, it's been extremely beneficial to both of us. So listen, we've come to the end of our time. Brad, it's been really interesting to hear your thoughts on this topic. It's pretty unusual for those of us, especially that work in the development world, to get to hear about the perspectives of someone who actually is spearheading the sale of a company and how you think about development, the product, the processes, and so forth. So thank you. It's been fascinating. We really appreciate you joining us. Thank you again. I'm not going to let you thank me last. I'm going to thank you last. Thank you again for the continued partnership with SEG. And to all of the people who have tuned in to watch us today, thank you. We look forward to talking to you again next time.